Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining me. I hope you're safe and sane wherever in the world you find yourself. I'd like to start this webinar by thanking IMF for giving me this space to take you behind the scenes. My name is Munmun Dhalaria, and I'm a documentary filmmaker currently based out of Dharamshala in Himachal Pradesh. I'll be sharing some of my experiences of filming a remote community and elusive wildlife in one of my favorite places. As a conservation storyteller, I usually follow an animal that intrigues me, and I try and understand the people and places that are associated with it. I had heard of stories of snow leopards walking near Kibber village in Lahore, Spiti, and I was excited to learn about these charismatic cats living so close to people. Unlike the more popular destinations for snow leopards in Ladakh, reaching Spiti is a longer affair with a much deadlier road. Along the way, as you gain altitude, you start to lose modern facilities like ATMs and restaurants and even phone networks. It's recommended to begin your journey early morning at Rampur, which is only at about 1,000 meters, and make it all the way to Kaza in a single day. Lahore Spiti is India's second least populated district. And before I was to reach the famous village, we acclimatized at Kaza. This is the largest town in Spiti Valley at about 3,700 meters above sea level. At about 4,200 meters above sea level, Kibber is one of the highest inhabited places on Earth. My first time in Kaza was in the winter for the simple reason that people here are just too busy to even talk to outsiders during the summers. And to truly get a chance to experience life in Spiti, you need to have the time to have longer conversations. I have visited Spiti twice since 2016, along with the researchers at Nature Conservation Foundation. I've experienced about a month of cold winter on my first trip, and I had a much more action-packed one-week stint last summer. The drive from Shimla to Kaza can be daunting. Shooting rocks on the way are a real threat to vehicles. Villages of this valley are as sparse as they are high. Winters in Spiti are difficult for everyone. Temperatures may fall to minus 30 degrees or below, and people have very few resources to keep themselves warm. But this is also a time for cultural gatherings and festivals. On the banks of an almost frozen Spiti River is where most of the settlements thrive. Winter is a time for prayer for Spiti's largely Buddhist community. The popular Key Monastery is a very famous center of learning there. Shamanistic traditions of Upper Himachal are also respected, evidenced by the high social status of a gur, a mediator of sorts between God and people. He has been a very important decision maker for the community, since villages here have had a very recent history of being completely cut off from the outside world. Storing rations to help them last until the summer months has been the norm. Very few things grow in this barren landscape: barley, potatoes, and in the recent decades, green peas. These organic crops play a huge role in the economy, and they're respected for it. Kibber village falls under the Spiti Wildlife Sanctuary, which is an incredible idea for protecting animals like the ibex, snow leopards, red foxes, and wolves. But hoardings are for humans only. The animals don't really understand what this means, and they definitely don't respect boundaries. Searching for the elusive ghost cat was something I was frequently invited for while I documented the relationship of people to their landscapes and animals. You see, Spiti is a cold, barren land. Every resource is precious, every animal indispensable. Yaks and donkeys are beasts of burden, used in every aspect of agricultural life. Even their dung is still a crucial form of biofuel. Every part of the animals is used, and people's homes are shared with them. Men and women share important duties here. Through the winter, they make sure that they use the little wool that the yak and the sheep provide, making everything one needs to stay warm. I noticed that the women just wouldn't rest. They were always creating something with their hands, perhaps a lost art today. How this generation balances modernization with an ever evolving culture is something I'm interested in following over the next few years. Even in the dead of the night, Spiti offers unparalleled beauty, which you appreciate while you and your camera are frozen in step. Living life when water is frozen is not easy. It's frozen on the roads and it doesn't make it into your homes. Every ounce of water used in people's home is carried on their backs. Women bear this cold and they work just as hard as the men, looking after children, animals, and their pastures. A proper snowfall is crucial for the parched land to be cultivated in the summer. And as we know, snowfall has been extremely erratic in the Himalaya. Through the eyes of my friend Lanzom, I tried to capture an uncertain winter of people living on the frontiers of climate change, and I urge you to watch this short film. Climate change isn't the only issue that this community faces. The silent nights in Kibber are sometimes disturbed by a stealthy predator. And to people who live off of their livestock, losing even a single animal to a snow leopard is heartbreaking and financially crushing. Yes, snow leopards are evolutionary masterpieces when it comes to their adaptations of living in these cold, high altitude, rugged mountains. But as fascinating as they are, they've had a tricky relationship with the locals. I was able to understand these complex interactions through biologists from Nature Conservation Foundation, who have spent decades learning about this animal and trying to mitigate conflict. They do this by working together with the people, taking their inputs on issues raised by them, providing insurance schemes for loss of livestock, or building safer corrals for animals to shelter in are some of the ways in which coexistence has been made possible here. More importantly, they're making sure that the next generation of Spitians are able to enjoy and experience their own backyard. Nature camps are conducted to make sure that modernism doesn't completely disconnect the next generation from their pastures. Involving women in conservation has had an even deeper impact with the children. Women from Spiti are using their existing skills to contribute to conservation through a social livelihood initiative called Shen. Shen is the Spitian word for snow leopard. Through this program, women are able to make a small income by selling gorgeous, handcrafted local products. It's amazing to watch these women working in small collectives that are able to engage with protecting their own species and their landscape. I have spent some time filming in the upper Himalayas of India for various stories. Unfortunately, I do get to witness the destruction caused by mega dam projects, which often ignore the plight of both the local people and elusive wild animals that have to exist in these spaces long after the blasting is over. I hope we can work with local communities, even in tourism and development, to protect this landscape that we all truly cherish. I'd like to leave you with an image of Rancho. He was a notorious old snow leopard that spent his last few days in and around Kibber village. Villagers who once disliked the Shen are now gathering to pay it their last respects. I'd love to thank IMF once again to help me share one of my life's most influential experiences with everyone. Thank you.